Local and international newspaper headlines for the day with in-depth analysis from seasoned professionals. Start your day the right way on 99.3 Nigeria Info.
It's a beautiful morning. You're welcome back. It's still the morning Crossfire, and this is 99.3 Nigeria Info. The date is 17th of December. Yes, Merry Christmas is in order. We have these days to read.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like it yet, but I can talk myself into feeling like it.
You know?
So Merry Christmas to us all. And happy holidays for those of you who are already on holiday. I envy you. I wish there's a way I could get it back.
No, you're not getting anything.
Like, let's all not
there's no holiday
have a
for you.
break.
No holiday whatsoever.
Well, here we are. Welcome to the show. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info FM, where we're streaming live, and you can watch us in the studio right now, anywhere you are in the world. If you're living in Nigeria, check us along with you. Just watch us, and you can also listen live on our website, nigeriainfo.fm. From now till 8 o'clock, we're looking at the stories across the dailies today. We call it the front pages. And I am Wemimo Adewuni. Welcome to the show.
I'm Sheriff Quadry. It's a pleasure to know that you're there. Gbolahan Olojede joins us this morning. Gbolahan, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
This morning we've got on the table, the New Telegraph is here, The Nation, as well as the Vanguard newspaper.
And here I've got The Guardian, our media partner, also the Daily Sun, the Punch newspaper, as well as the Daily Independent. Let's look at stories across the papers. Banner headline of The Guardian: government to spend 417 billion naira on subsidy in 2020. There are two riders here. Nigeria loses $400 billion to foreign havens. How? 6 global action against illicit financial flows. You can read more from the Guardian newspaper. You can also find this story, similar one, on the Daily Sun. Buhari to sign 2020 budget today, most likely. I think the time is set for about 3:30 p.m.
3:30, that's
so
right.
if you're listening to Nigeria Info, we'll be giving you coverage of that shortly and giving you updates. Okay, we also have a similar one on the Punch. Senate will pass Buhari's $30 billion loan request. That's coming from Lawan. And also the Daily Independent. Why Senate... Okay, I think we should take that separately from the budget.
Right.
Yeah, let's come to this later.
We should. That's right. Let's talk about the budget. Well, our president's about to sign, will most likely sign the 2020 budget into law today at 3:30.
That's good from the perspective of coming back to your usual calendar, which is January to December.
Right.
We've not had this for quite a while, and it's part of the reasons why our performance could be said to be low. You know, if something is supposed to start in January and you don't get your capital releases until the second half of the year, there is definitely an effect on the performance of that particular budget.
Absolutely.
You know, so I'm hoping that this will set a tone for how we'll proceed going forward as far as timing is concerned. There are still other issues around budget.
Talking about other issues, the signing of this budget still, like you in the financial sector will always say budget is just a statement. It doesn't mean that the money to run the budget is readily available. So signing, does it change anything if we don't have that revenue to fund the budget?
It's a statement of intent, and it comes with its assumptions.
Right.
Now, which is part of what goes into getting the budget prepared and getting it appraised by the National Assembly and approved. So you go into those assumptions and you take them one by one to say, is this reasonable? Is this not? So you have a situation in which the National Assembly might adjust. I think they actually did adjust the benchmark.
They did. They increased it by over 200 billion naira.
Yeah. So you make all those adjustments based on what I would consider the realities from your perspective. And then you arrive at a final document. I think this year is a bit more conservative on a few things. For example, we lowered our production. Before now, we always say 2.3 million barrels per day, when we've not done 2.3 million barrels per day for a long time.
For like ever.
So what's the point? So maybe the lowering of that figure this year is a beginning of a more realistic situation.
So, talking about the Senate, let's quickly take a look at the other headline accompanying this particular one. Senate trying to give permission to the president on the $29.96 billion loan bid.
Don't say 30 billion.
Let's
Let's
cut off
just
the
round it.
point.
Let's round it up.
The Senate president is trying to give reasons why the Senate might likely just give a nod for the president to go for this.
I've been in the financial sector for several years, maybe 26, 25 years. And one thing I can tell you with confidence is that in the issue of borrowing or lending,
Right.
it is not enough to say, I want to borrow. It is important to say, when I borrow, this is how I will repay. In fact, contrary to general belief about collaterals are a secondary level thing. The most important thing to a lender or in the lending process is, how will this money come back?
Right.
So I must be able to see the cash flow that will repay this. The cash flow projection from which this loan you're taking will be repaid. I am not sure that the government has presented a revenue plan upon which a repayment is going to be based.
Isn't that why
I'm deeply concerned
Isn't
about
that why we're increasing VAT, trying to source
that
money
can't
from
meet
every
up.
now and
Have you seen
again?
the net effect of increasing VAT?
Try
That
to
can't meet up with
It's
anything.
extremely paltry. That has nothing to do. In fact, when this loan was first presented,
Right.
there was no issue of increasing VAT there. And then even if increasing VAT, maybe for example, maybe you intend to take it to 10, I don't know, you will now present a plan that shows exactly this is where those revenues with which I will pay will come from. This amount will come from VAT. This amount will come from additional oil income. This amount will come from this and this. And it will amount to this much. This will be my obligation in the first year. And this is the cash that will pay it.
Isn't that
this
what
is
the
how
Senate-
things are done.
Isn't that what the Senate should have queried?
I
mean, but if
believe
they're
so.
saying, when did they query this?
I don't think so. If they did, we should have heard all about it. You see, this is part of putting only one story on the table. There is danger in one story. And that story is that we need this money. It is true. We
Yeah.
need the money.
right.
But there's the other stories of, when we take this money, how are we going to repay it? That second story must also be put on the table. Put all the cards on the table.
Is a problem not putting the story on the table, or we don't have
Oh, there's no
we
story.
don't have an idea of how, or we don't have a story. We don't have an
There's no
idea how
story.
we want
it
to
becomes
repay.
more dangerous. You see, by the time, say, the Senate put it back to the executive and say, this is fine, we should be able to borrow last GDP, though debt are not repaid from GDP, they are repaid from revenue anyway.
Right.
You know, these are the reasons why you want us to borrow. But please, can we also have the revenue plan upon which the repayment is going to be based? There's nothing too much to ask about that. What that does is that if the executive has not put together its revenue plan or repayment plan before, it begins to raise the issue that you need to do that. And we
Right.
begin to ask
And
questions.
isn't it interesting that neither the executive nor the legislature would even think this is important? 30 billion naira.
30 billion
Already
naira.
we have a lot of debt. You always say the debt is not our problem.
Wemimo.
Revenue and repayment is.
Wemimo.
Revenue is.
And we're going to have more problems with the 30 billion
Talking
naira.
about debt that you mentioned, the Vanguard has something very beautiful on its front page, and they've broken down these debts. In 2019, public debt figure for the entire country is standing at 24.9 trillion naira. 24.9 trillion naira. In 2018, it was 22.7 trillion. In 2017, 19.2. In 2016, 16.3. And in 2015, 12.1. So in 2015, since the advent of this administration, we've jumped from 12.1 trillion to 24.9 trillion. That is a huge leap.
It's a huge leap, and it's just about to get bigger.
Let me do
four
a
years.
quick
In just 4
conversion for
years.
you.
It's about to get bigger.
Are we
30
seeing
billion
commensurate?
dollars
do that.
to
Do
naira.
that quietly.
You see,
are we
in this particular
Are we
space,
seeing any commensurate development in public space?
I would-
If we're accruing this much debt from 12.1 to 24, that's like 100% to 24.9 trillion
You see,
in 4 years.
our problem is that we don't put all the cards on the table. There are two major problems. And one is not the solution to the other. We have a problem with revenue, a huge, huge revenue problem.
And we do need money, yes.
And that is the part that suits the government. So the government like to tell the people that our revenue is poor, we don't have money and all that. It is true, we don't have money. Now the people are on the other side of this coin, and they like to say, even the little money, the money we have is being wasted, a lot of corruption, wastages, bloated income to public officers and all those kind of things. So there is lack of accountability of the small money that we have.
Right.
Now, those are two different problems. But there's a nexus, and that nexus is that one can help the other. If you become more accountable to the people for the little revenues that we already have, you are probably going to be able to raise further revenue.
Because you have more people trust the government.
Trusting you, and they can see what you're doing with the money.
Okay, let me tell you how much this money is. I like to do the calculations.
Okay, bring
I
it
think
on.
I did it last time when this announcement was made. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So do the math for me. Here you go.
Oh,
That's
no.
10.
What kind of figure is this?
I can't even call it. How many? What's that? Trillion? Zillion?
This one don't pass.
Just do the calculation. We do need the money, we all agree. But we shouldn't put ourselves in more trouble.
If
how do we repay
honestly,
the loan?
I'm not going to say don't bring it on. Bring it on the day, but show me exactly
how you're going to pay and what you want to do with the money, and let's see.
Yes,
the
they've
infrastructure.
listed some stuff, but I don't think, honestly, I don't think National Assembly has done a good job as far as this is concerned.
Well, Lawan says they will okay Buhari's $30 billion loan request. You can read more in the papers today. Just open anyone that suits
I'm also
you.
worried about the lenders themselves. Why they should be concerned.
Okay, see,
About the
isn't it
repayment,
funny?
or are they trying to get us into a position of slavery?
Aren't they? Aren't they? The IMF will tell us to reduce our borrowing. They will lend us more money. The World Bank will warn us that we're running into debt. They'll lend us more money. I mean, there must be something in it for them.
I remember speaking with a business expert, and the person said that we might likely not get this money because the world is looking. The World Bank, for instance, is looking at, we are paying unreasonable amount to subsidize fuel, and they've been saying that don't subsidize fuel again so that you can meet up your debt repayments, debt service, responsibilities, and you're still doing this. You're wasting money. And with this one, the person told me that they will most likely turn us back. And this money, from what I got,
I think we'll get it. Let's vote.
This money, from what I got, is not coming from one person.
No.
So it's coming. It's multilateral, bilateral, even
We will
single
get it.
corporations and everything. So we might not get all
We
of them,
will.
all of these monies.
Have you seen
Some
We
might
will
turn
get
us
it.
back.
I believe they should ask the basic question about repayment.
Exactly.
And it's only when they have gotten their comfort about how you will repay them that they will give you that money. Otherwise, there is actually some danger on the table.
Of course.
And we need to diffuse or, deal with this.
Maybe we open this up someday.
Yeah,
right?
Joy Forever on Twitter is saying that our debt profile is on the increase and yet not commensurate with development. Accountability is low. We will want to borrow $30 billion. It is really next level. National Assembly is putting us into slavery. God will help also. Gbese is getting higher. As
God
Joy
has
Forever
done his
said.
bit. We need to do ours.
Thank you.
Can we
Like I
spare
like to
God?
say, God is busy. He doesn't have your time. He's not coming to help you. You help yourself from here. All right. Why I would not release Showore, says Malami, on the front page of the Daily Independent. Why I won't release Showore from Malami. This is coming from the Daily Independent. It's also the Punch. I cannot ask DSS to release Showore, says Malami, from the Punch newspaper.
Isn't this really preposterous? If court says release somebody and you're saying that why you will not release the person,
let me read it.
Are you
So-
not challenging the authority of the court?
Let me read to you.
Let's see what.
So this is the part I don't like. I found him. When they say go to page 9, it's in a corner in page 9. Abubakar Malami, that's the Attorney General of the Federation, who's also the Minister of Justice, has declared that only the court will set Omoyele Showore, the convener of #RevolutionNow campaign, free. The minister in a statement released in Abuja maintained that the federal government will be guided by extant laws and tradition of the court in handling legal matters and related litigations. According to him, and I'm quoting from here, when parties submit their issues for determination to a court of law, they lack exclusivity of decision over such issues without recourse to court. And he says, we remain guided by the established tradition and would not take unilateral decision without recourse to the rule of law. I'm not understanding.
I am not.
Well, I think I can guess what he's talking about.
Okay.
When the court said release Showore was actually released after the third
Warning.
Whatever, and it was released for a few hours. Apparently, in my personal theory, it was to preempt an embarrassing situation that was about to happen. You had a judge who had given a 24-hour deadline. Mm-hmm. Now, what that judge will have done if you don't release him is that will have committed the boss of the DSS to prison. Now, to execute that order in itself will have been an embarrassment. You need a policeman
it would have
to
been
go
fun to watch,
to the DSS boss
to
and arrest him and go and put him in jail. So it would have been complicated.
Yeah.
Right.
So they let the guy go. And they came back for him the next day. Now, here is it. The problem we've been talking about is the fact that there were arrests in the court, and that is a major issue. But the truth is, leave that arrest in the court alone. If you release him yesterday and today you have a reason to arrest him, you can arrest him.
So here's my question. My bigger question I have been asking on social media. I mean, that it was done in court was one thing. The question for me is, what is the reason for this rearrest? Was there a warrant of arrest? And what is the charge?
There may not be a warrant.
Why not?
Because
what's the charge?
There are issues that allow. There are situations that allows the security operative to arrest without the warrant.
But you must tell us why.
So
there must be a
why
charge.
There might have been a charge.
Falana says there isn't one.
It might not be on the pages of the news.
I'm sure Falana would have said if there was.
For me, what the AG needs, he's telling us that he has to go back to the court. Between the AG and the Falana, let's then go back to that court now. And if the court now says,
how long will it take
release
to go
him
back
again?
To court?
How long does it take? I'm not sure it takes a length of time.
I'm not sure that it can take the Attorney General 24 hours to go back to court.
He can't.
So you're gonna arrest somebody.
But he won't be the one to take this matter to court.
You're gonna arrest
he
somebody.
He might have taken over the court.
So listen, Gbolahan.
Totally.
You release.
In taking it over, he
Yes.
can't go to court to say, tell us why we should release Showore. It must be Showore's lawyer who goes to say, why is he arrested
Correct.
and release him?
Correct.
I mean, the AGF is in the prosecution, not in the
Right.
defense.
Yes. So
Right.
having studied the file, so we were told that he studied the file. Then he on his part might have been able to establish a reason why the DSS decided to keep him. And by virtue of that, the lawyer, if he has not been told of why, which I believe he should have been told, then can proceed to go and say, give this guy a bail. Even if the arrest is for treason,
But
it is bailable.
here is my concern here. You release somebody today. You have the intention of rearresting him the following day. Why didn't you get a warrant? If you have a warrant, why didn't you show to the public that you've got a warrant? Because you know that this case is not really a private case. It's a public case.
Sheriff.
So why can't you say categorically that you've got reasons for holding him?
Sheriff, I'm not a lawyer, but at the same time, I've heard from lawyers consistently on this matter that you can actually make an arrest under certain circumstances without a warrant.
Without a warrant.
That is the truth.
But
Now,
you
the
must
problem
then charge,
there was a problem
but
around how it was done.
if you do arrest,
You know.
you must charge to court or you get an expert order to keep them. Because you must charge them to court within 24 or 48 hours, even if you do arrest. If you have to keep them beyond that time, then you need to get an expert order to keep them, like they did for Showore. They got 45 days. They've not gone to court at all for anything.
Know, between you and I don't think this is a straightforward situation.
This is the time when I feel like going back to study law.
and Malami himself, to be frank, has not been known to do the right thing in matters like this. We have precedents, and this is not the first one.
Let's look at this story. PDP APC trade words over campaign funds. You know, this story broke yesterday. Ruling party, we didn't take money from FIRS, government agency. There's this accusation of Tunde Fowler involved in campaign fund and all of
started
that.
with 90,
and,
became 40 now.
President Buhari getting so act up about it. Let's look at this story. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, yesterday clashed with the All Progressives Congress, APC, over the 40 billion naira campaign fund scandal rocking the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, which the opposition party said has exposed the APC as a party of treasury looters. And they said, and I quote, the misappropriated funds were purportedly used to fund political campaigns of the APC during the 2019 general elections. National Publicity Secretary of the party, Kola Olojede, who issued a statement on the scandal, challenged the APC to come clean and explain to Nigerians how the money was allegedly used by the ruling party to finance its 2019 election campaigns.
I don't think it's a story that we'll ever get to the bottom of, because it's a story that is mixed up with the politics of it.
Right.
And in matters like, number one, we all know that Fowler was not a candidate in any election. So he couldn't have been funding his own election with any money. And the FIRS that is said to have been the custodian of this money are saying, our own money, we collect money on behalf of the government. But our own money, for any year, we've never collected 100 billion as our own money. So you remember when they started, it started as 90 billion.
Right.
And they were saying, if we don't even collect 100 billion, doesn't mean we didn't pay salaries for that particular year or what happened. So there are intrigues, political side, and that will never ever let us get to the bottom of the story. I can bet that it will be running around on the pages of newspaper. After a while, it will disappear.
It's getting messier in Edo, by the way. Adams Shomane, Obaseki, they're throwing mods at each other, muscling going on. They're saying you're a serial killer. You're not a serial killer. No, it's not my word. See, yes.
Read it now.
See, you're a serial killer. Obaseki tells Oshomale.
What's that about?
Serial killer or liar?
Liar.
Serial liar.
Okay, serial
You've been
liar.
watching too many movies.
Of course, when you see the word serial,
You just
The next thing will be like,
Where's that
okay, so
coming
serial liar.
will it be strange to you that a politician in Nigeria told a lie? Or that they tell lies?
from? Like, just mention one that didn't
are
tell
liars in the hair. Not even just hair. Anyway.
That's an accusation.
It's an accusation. Okay, politicians may tell lies
Once in a while.
from time to time.
From time to time. I like that. Let's read some comment from Facebook. MEMA says, okay, this is Aurora from my boss says, this is what happens when the legislature and judiciary are loyalists to the executive. By the way, someone asked me on Twitter, and I just gave an analogy. It was a joke, but it's just how I feel. It was asking, Wemimo, why is it that isn't the judiciary, executive, and legislature, aren't they equal? I said, well, from where I stand, I think the executive is the senior brother.
Father,
the heir is
Son,
the
and the Holy
heir
Spirit.
is the heir to the whole thing.
throne.
Yeah, the legislature is the second born. You know the way second kids are. Sometimes they're envious of the first. Sometimes they give you some problems. Sometimes they play along with you. And the judiciary is the last born that was born like 20 years after, so has no say in the matter. Just joking. Olawale Muritala says, I think we need to do something about the money these National Assembly members are collecting. Okay, that's something else entirely. Agbadamosi Olalekon Sheriff says, I had this conversation with a friend this morning about the National Assembly's intent on approving the loan. Have they asked themselves if that loan will take us out of multidimensional poverty? They should invest in human capital development and be intentional about it. Olusegun David Ajala says, hello guys, this is the reason why we should desist from making politicians, AGF and Minister of Justice. Malami just spoke as a politician, not a lawyer. Nton Prince Brain says, good morning, Nigeria. In fact, why are people in government putting Nigeria into mess? We now check out the money our government have borrowed over the years. They haven't done anything reasonable to improve the economy. Femi Taiwo says, Sheriff, I like this your attire today.
Thank you.
It's got a cap on a jacket. Why are you guys not watching on Facebook? You're missing out. Let's head out for a break now, people. That is on the front page. When we come back, we're talking about adoption. In Nigeria, do you know anyone who's...
Yes.
They've always wanted a baby, but they
Yes.
can't have one. Why do we
Yes.
have booming baby factories? It's because there is demand. But what's the problem with the adoption process?
Do we
in
even
Nigeria?
have a process in Nigeria? How cumbersome or easy that process is? What are the laws that is very operational in this particular space? Are you even aware? Oh, plenty of questions. Let's head out
Learning
to a
questions.
break.
I would like to
Right.
adopt a child later on, but what's the process? What do I do? Do I
Right.
just walk in, pick up a child I like, and go? No.
Or consult the factory.
Let's talk about this after the break. Gbolahan, thank you for coming in.
It's been a pleasure.
Join us again. I am Wemimo Adewuni.
I'm Sheriff Quadry.